when people talk about street dance, they think it's just one thing, where in reality, it's actually a lot of different styles.
If you think about the past, when street dance started, you had the people that could afford to go into a studio and learn proper contemporary. Contemporary has been there for ages, same as ballet. And these were the dances where you had to pay. But what happened with the people that couldn't afford it, right? So it happened on the streets, or it happened at parties, block parties. So when you talk about nowadays big events where there are street dance battles that you see at events, and that has been promoted as like street dance because you can battle in it, are literally breaking. We got popping, and we have locking, whacking, as well as house, and also a subgenre would be rocking, and so on and so further. So all those street dances, they are considered street dance because they kind of bring the rawness of the street with it, which normal dance studio styles, they don't have that. So that's what makes street dance, it's the rawness.
Oh, that's so interesting. I didn't know. That's a really good explanation.
My name is Christian Eisenberger, but I'm also known in the dance scene as Icy, or in the DJ scene as DJ Ion Icy. I'm 37 years old. I'm born in Romania. I grew up in Germany, and now I live in Main Beach at the beautiful Gold Coast in Australia.
When I was 18, I went and saw the Bomb Funk MCs, this group that sings the song Freestyler. I went and saw them play, and they had some breakers supporting them, and I'd never seen breaking before. And I didn't even know what it was. I just saw it and was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then I just went on a mission to try and find how to learn how to break.
The very first time I saw it, it was doing like windmills and stuff. And I was really keen to be able to learn to like do all those cool spin moves, and that's actually what really got me into breaking.
Breaking is also called b-boying or b-girling, and the B and the b-boy and b-girl stands for break, and the break in the music is the part of a record. Can be any genre, can be funk, soul, disco, where you have percussions, so you hear the drums, they're like predominant, and the drums gave the people so much energy, even though it was just like maybe 5 to 10 seconds, that people went down on the floor because it was so aggressive. And that moment was called a break in the music. And there was a DJ called Cool DJ Herc. He realized that all those guys in a party, normal party setting, people responded to those 10 seconds and went down. And he's like, well, if I buy the same record twice and I try to loop this part, I could extend the time where people want to go down. And he's like, all right, those guys, they always dance to my breaks. So I call those guys a b-boy because he dances on my break, so a break boy and a break girl. So people adapted to the music.
My mentors are B-Boy All-Stars, which were predominantly power movers, so with the big flares, head spins, 90s and stuff like that, big power moves. And they actually put Australia on the map. Australia had the best power moves in the world in the early 90s. But also at the same time, the twins, like Exit and Seeds, they were both graffiti writers as well, so they had a magazine called Hype Magazine. And to us, Hype Magazine was our internet before the internet, you know what I mean? So it was like, that was our hip-hop Bible basically in Australia. So if you made it, if you felt like if you made it into Hype, if you had a photo in there or something, you're like, oh, I made it, because it went all around Australia and it went around the world as well.
From Queensland. Would you please welcome back the B-Boy All-Stars?
In '83, like as you probably already are aware, like breaking was 73, so like that's when it kicked off in the States. But obviously being in Australia so far away, we weren't really aware of it until '83. Well, we saw Flashdance where Mr. Freeze and everything did their famous scene, with the umbrella popping and everything in the alleyway, and but it wasn't really until '83 when it exploded. Like I remember going to school and there was battles at lunchtime.
No way.
Yeah, there was like full circles, full ciphers happening. But back then, people would pop, lock, and break in one set. Now it's very separated, right? It's like you either pop, you lock, or you're a B-boy, B-girl. Yeah. But in 1988 in Brisbane, we had the World Expo 88. And what happened was a few of those guys that were still breaking, so there was like guys like Busk and the twins, as I mentioned, King Pete, which is Peter Frickman, Scan.
Twins from the Hype magazine.
Yes, twins from Hype Mag, that's right. They were actually performing at World Expo. And what they decided was, instead of it, they created B-Boy All-Stars then. Yeah. So they were like, well, let's all come together. Like, so that was in 1988, so they formed the B-Boy All-Stars then. And then they really sparked, I guess, the start of a new generation, because hip-hop as such has kind of really died out. For us as kids, seeing that on TV, like, that was crazy. We're just like, oh man, I want to do that. And then, again, knowing that they were the twins from Hype Mag, that just added a bit more, like, to their status. Like, what? Yeah, so.
Wow.
Yeah. What's up? This is B-Boy Versastar, Skill at Will, Wicked Force from Brisbane, Vegas, Australia.
When I'm out there, it's kind of like I just forget everything like that's going on, and I'm just there, and I'm just dancing. It's very just natural. It just comes very naturally, and I don't feel like, I don't really think about anything at the moment. I'm just there dancing. I'm Benji. I'm also known as Ben MX, and I'm a breaker, and I live on the Gold Coast.
What would be the hard part of breaking?
The challenges, definitely being able to balance everything, and being able to be able to see both sides of it. Because now it's in the Olympics, lots of people are seeing it as like a sport, and others are seeing it like as a dance. But for me, I'd really try to find that balance between athlete and like artist. In my perspective, I really see it like I see myself as an athlete, but I see what I do as like a art form and whatnot. And it's just that big balance between the two.
What role do your parents play in your breaking?
My dad and my mom, they really play a huge role. They've got me to where I am today. I'm just extremely grateful because they've been very open to it, and they've really wanted me just to do my best. And I feel like Mom, she's always there for me. She was always helping me like with my flights and all that. She's very, very encouraging. And my dad's just very into like, oh, you need to create this new move, gotta practice this and whatnot. He's very keen, and he's always there watching me. And it's really good just to have parents that are very open and very like helpful in this, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, well, I saw them when you were performing at the event, and they were like your biggest fans.
Yeah. I practice about 6 to 7 times a week. Mm-hmm. Morning sometimes, like 9ish, and then I go like night, and then most of the time it's like midday to afternoon. And that will just consist of lots of just practicing over sets and combos, perfecting my things, and it will really consist of just being consistent in what I do, and just not forcing it to come out, but just really it to come naturally, sort of thing. And it really works for me the way I train. I don't really have too much of a planned schedule. I really go with the flow, and that really helps me to do the best that I can be. And I feel like that's the way I learn the best.
the freestyle scene has really grown over the last 10 years. And that's due to those core people that kind of started the scene, traveling, getting really good and coming back and sharing all of that. So it's been really wild to watch that happen and grow, because it's a lot younger than the breaking scene in Brisbane.
The people who have made it to the Olympics, it's not like these people have all competed. All these B-boys and B-girls have competed in raw events. Even though there was like sanctioned events to become like the representatives for the country, all these people have earned their way there. You know, we have young J-Attack like Jeff from the Gold Coast in Queensland. You know, he's repping, you know, Australia, but he's been working hard. You know, I think he was like 7 when he started.
Wow.
So, you know, it hasn't been like a super fast track journey, it's just there. Yeah.
And I also see him participating in all the local events as well.
Yes,
He's having fun, he's part of the whole rawness as well, and he's of course practicing for the next level.
Yeah, I think there's more opportunities to become more professional in what we do now.
Makes me feel free, but at the same time extremely hyped, extremely excited. So it's just that good contrast of each other. I'm Jeff Dunn, also known as B-Boy J-Attack, and I live in Australia, Gold Coast. I got into breaking through my sister. So my sister used to do hip hop classes, and next to those classes I did breaking classes. And I just started doing those moves in the corner, and by next week I was in a breaking class and I didn't stop learning. The first thing that got me interested in breaking was all the dynamic moves, all the power moves, all the tricks. So growing up, all I did was just try power moves and tricks. But as I got older, probably like maybe close to the Olympics, I started liking more style. So I'm really into style and the way you do things these days.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I was going to ask you about that because I noticed you have a lot of power moves. Can you explain what a power move is?
So a power move for me is a very high, difficult spinning movement that comes with like strength and flexibility at the same time. Yeah.
So from street dance, why did you go for breaking and not anything else?
It was just the thing that caught my attention the most. I've liked playing a lot of other sports like soccer and surfing and skating in my life, but I think breaking just had that sort of unique attachment to me that I found just this odd feeling that I just wanted to do this growing up, and I saw myself as like a professional career out of this. So yeah, and I just did it because it was extremely fun, the most fun I ever had in any sport I ever did.
What would be the hardest part of having a career in breaking?
Hardest part of having a career in breaking? Just thinking that you have to live up to a standard, because when you start to get really good and people recognize that you get really good and you have a certain battle that you go to and you're in that moment and you just like set the bar so high that the next competition, sometimes you feel like that you have to stay at that standard, and that shouldn't always be the case, especially for me, because sometimes I might do so well at a competition, I feel like I have to stay at that standard in order for people to feel like accept me or anything, but that should never be the case. So yeah.
How do you overcome that?
Just ignoring what I think about people or what people think about me, and just doing it because I love it.
Okay, that's really good advice, even for other people out there. I think it's pretty legit to think that way, because you set your standard for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then it's you beating yourself up. That brings me to my question actually. What about your parents? How do you think they have helped you or supported you to get in this field?
Yeah, they didn't really think I was going to make it to the Olympics or anything. That's because I was so young when I told them I wanted to. But yeah, with whatever I did, any sport that I would have taken on, even if it wasn't for breaking, they always told me, whatever you do, we'll support you for it. And I'm really thankful for that.
What are crews?
So a crew is just another team, another way of like representing like a family group. So my crew is called Team Cream, and I became a part of that crew when I was around 9 or 10. And Yeah, they're basically like older brothers to me, people that I'm inspired by and I idolize the most when it comes to breaking, and just that respectfulness, because they've taught me how to respect people, but at the same time never hold back.
Yeah.
And never, show any sign of cockiness or anything. Always be humble. Even if you just absolutely dominated that person, you should always show humbleness and respect at the end of a battle. Yeah.
I think it was early 2000 or 2001 where I met Leah at Channel Direct. Yeah, there wasn't really many B-girls at that time, especially in Queensland. In all Australia, there was under 5.
My name's Leah Clark and my B-girl name is Flix. I have been breaking for 24 years. So I started in 2000 and I still break now. I still compete, I still battle. Back then there wasn't a lot of places. I managed to find Channel Direct, which is where I kind of learned and grew up. And it was a space similar to this. It was a hall and all the breakers used to come to it. But it was hard. It was early internet days, so I had the phone book out trying to find I was calling all these dance schools, like, how do you learn how to break? And they were like, oh, you learn that on the street or something like that. There wasn't really classes around back then. There was more sort of training spots and stuff. It was a really strong scene, I think. Like, all of us were new, and I guess we had the disadvantage of not having so much access to breaking. Like, now you can just get on Instagram and you can learn how to do a move, like step by step. But for us, we were, training with each other and watching each other and watching videos and just trying to figure out what breaking was, kind of thing. I'm really grateful that I grew up in the generation of breaking that I did. I think it pushed me in the right direction. And I think that's why I'm still here, because I grew up in that supportive scene, and it was really, I think, friendship based, it was super social. There is kind of this little gap in the scene where we've got a lot of sort of young 20-year-olds and stuff that are now coming through. But I feel like there was just that kind of 10 years where there wasn't a lot happening, and I think also it might be due to the fact that we lost a lot of our big crew events, and then a lot of these little solo comps came up. So the crew format wasn't a necessary thing. I really feel like that's why maybe there's a generational gap. But yeah, now there's like, if you stay tonight on a Tuesday night jam, there's like, the space is packed. There's all the younger, super young kids coming in now. So I have hope for the future, because I know there's lots of young ones that are giving it a go now, and they've got a good solid, young crews under them supporting them as well.
I'm 45 now. I'm a 90s kid. In the 90s, hip-hop was regarded as breaking, popping, and locking. But in reality, that's not actually true. Because in reality, popping and locking had their own history, separate from breaking. Well, my name's Thane. I live in the Sunshine Coast, in a small town called Caloundra. I've been locking for about 20 years now. I'm still going strong now, well, as strong as I can. I'm just trying to pass on my knowledge to the younger generation. Locking's a style which originated in Los Angeles in the early 70s by a guy called Don Campbell, who originally was trying to do the popular dances of that era. He couldn't do them, and so he ended up doing this all the time. And people liked it, and they all started copying him, and that's how the dance started. So essentially, the dance started by complete accident. He wasn't trying to make something. He just made it by accident, trying to do something else, and it became a very popular dance style over the years. I started going to a club in London in the African Centre, and there was a night there every Friday, and it was b-boys, there was lockers, there was poppers, there was dancers of all varieties. I didn't know about any of this at the time. I was just like, whoa, what's this? My eyes were like, wow, you know. And basically, that's where I saw my first guy who was locking, and I was like, what's this style? I'd never seen this before, you know. It looks amazing, you know. It's powerful, it's fluid, it's everything I like in the dance. When I went out, I was like, look, I don't want to get my shirt dirty, you know. I want to stay clean, I want to look fresh, you know. So I thought, no, when I dance, I'm staying on my feet. So I didn't get into breaking. Even though I like breaking, I respect breaking, I just didn't get into it because I wanted to stay clean, I wanted to look sharp, and I didn't want to have myself covered in crap off the floor. So that's why I got into locking. Historically, locking is what you call a soul dance, but it has this power in it because other soul dances that existed before locking aren't really around anymore. See, locking has this weird thing where it's strong but fluid at the same time. And that's the hard part to get to master in locking. It's this whole thing of having soft and powerful energy at the same time. That's very difficult to achieve, but that's the art of locking. And it's one of the only styles which actually uses that, where it's powerful, boom, 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 roll, lock, clap. But it's funky and fluid at the same time. One, and bigger, bigger. Think of 3 triangles. 1, 2, 3, and 3 with the foot. That's a lock there. Not so tense. So from here on the beat, watch. Lock. So the 4 main steps of locking is the lock, point. When you point from across the chest. Roll comes from when in the ghetto in LA they used to play with dice, and they play dice, yeah? So that's where the wrist roll comes from.
I love it.
So the main steps are lock, roll, point.
One more time.
House was developed so strong at a certain point. It was developed as its own upbringing, but in the 90s, people didn't really want to dance on hip-hop anymore. In the clubs in New York, they didn't play hip-hop as much as they used to. But the people still wanted to go to party, and now house was a thing. So the b-boys and the guys that went to parties, they went to house parties. So house started to develop, and people started adapting their style to house music.
So when you talk about house dance and physically, the first thing you need to think about is the jacking, which is the groove of the dance. Same way in hip hop, you've got the bounce, or the like breaking has the rocking, and so house has the jacking, which is the the kind of feeling the music, the wave that your body does when listening to the music and when dancing into house. That would be the most like way physically to describe house. I'm Anna. I'm a house dancer and I'm a house teacher based in the Gold Coast. I started dancing with these amazing dancers in the house. Frankie J, Clara, Joel, Troy. Developed my career within house in there in London. And then I came to Australia 2 years ago. The scene in Queensland, it was quite small, but then through Mud Dance, a few like Nadia, Richard, house heads there that combined together, now it's starting to grow a little bit more. So we're very excited that finally Brisbane has more house dancers. Same in Gold Coast, it's growing slowly. So yeah, that's the journey of house. House dance starts when the house music starts, which was in the 1980s in Chicago and New York. There was a change in music coming from the disco and all the dancers from different styles dancing together in the same clubs. And yeah, as the music developed and house music started, then the house dance developed as well and started. What I enjoy about house is the freedom that you've got within the style itself, because it comes from many other different styles. So there's a lot of influence from many other dancers, and that creates and allows a lot of freedom, although there's some foundation steps. Freedom would be the word for me. Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
So whacking, the way I understand it, is that whacking was, again, it came a little bit later than locking. So when the gay communities in LA saw locking, they sort of recreated it into their own way. And that's where whacking came from.
Oh, wow.
So that's why whacking and locking are almost like, you know, you could also consider locking's like whacking's straight cousin. You know, in a way.
Okay, cool.
That's one way to think about it.
Whacking is a very beautiful dance. Basically, we're gonna use the arms and quick move about the arm and show the pose and the character and show how's your story in your dance. Hi everyone, my name is Yuming. I'm a whacker who have been doing whacking from 2011 until now. Dancing, it's made me feel like I can be a different person, like I can have a different character in different round. So it made me feel like very interesting because the daily life already just like that, so you can find a different you in your dance.
How did you come across whacking?
Actually, I start from watching someone doing whacking, and I feel like, oh my god, what is that dance? It's so pretty, and I start to learn it because I feel like it's so pretty, and whacking really helped me to find the real myself.
Let's go.
rocking is also a part of the street dance community and was actually there before breaking. That was a style where it was about like showing kind of violence but without touching anyone. So that's why we have like gestures where we act like we have a knife or we act like we punch you, and this doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's
Yeah.
a little bit like capoeira,
Yeah.
but more, symbolic in a way. I don't know, like a performance art.
Yeah.
It's a unique style of dance that started in probably the late 60s in Brooklyn. There are different stories about how it started and what originally helped to create rocking that it is today. But definitely a lot of people say that the Outlaws were doing it first. So they had a lot of gangs and they would start to like dance and burn each other through their dance. And that's one way that rocking came about, and that's why you see a lot of people playing with like knives or guns when they're rocking with each other and connecting with each other. But also there is a disco influence because a lot of people going to parties and they're into the disco music and the James Brown and the funk and the soul, so it has that influence as well. So rocking's like really a mixture of all of these things together. My name is Rachelette, B-Girl Rachelette, and I'm from Australia, Gold Coast. I do breaking and also I specialise in rocking, so rock dance would have to be my favourite style of dance. I started breaking classes at Mad Dance House Studio in Brisbane City. Brisbane definitely has a breaking scene. I guess it's not huge, but to be honest, I think it's a nice little scene. Through the dance studio, I was able to learn about the street scene for breaking, and I ended up leaving the dance studio and just training breaking on the street with the other b-boys, and also sometimes going to the studio where they have open sessions once a week.
What's burning?
Burning is where you're trying to diss the other person or make fun of them. It's something that you do in battle, but it's also something that you do just when you're like ciphering with someone and you want to have communication and interaction. So it can be really fun and playful, or it can be like a little more serious. I could, for example, like try and pop your eyes out and then like flick them back to you. Or I can get a drink and it's really hot, so I'm just gonna throw it at you and burn you. Or I can just get a knife and I can stab you, open you up, look inside. So you can do many things for burning. It's really just playing with the other person, trying to put them off their dance sometimes as well if it's a battle setting.
Oh, that's heaps of fun.
It's really fun.
So an Apache lane back in the days was, if you wanted to be in a certain gang, you had to go through a ritual, and that was the Apache lane. So they created an alleyway where people faced each other, and one guy had to walk through that alleyway, and all of the people punched into that person. And if you made it through the end of that alleyway and everyone punched in you, you were accepted in the gang. So rocking does it the same way, but you don't have to pass through it, but you still have a person in front of you and you act like you would attack. So what you saw at the pre-party was organically, because the music dictated to be, because it was the right music that was played, that people were in front of another person. We created kind of an alleyway and we danced like that.
I love so many things about rocking. So first off, I guess the communication and the connection that you have with the other dancer, because it's unique in that rocking is often done with someone opposite you. You have an opponent and you play off each other, you connect and communicate with each other. I think that's something really powerful, and it's also really fun. But yeah, rocking is a really strong style. So you can express yourself in so many ways. Like in the freestyle part of rocking, you can play with different vibes. You can be groovy, funky, you can be flowy, you can be passionate or sensual a little bit if you want to be. But then when the break hits, you usually go strong and you'll be showing the stronger side of yourself. So I love how rocking can connect me to my strength as well as a person and an individual.
Where do you see street dance go?
I feel like street dance goes away from street dance. That's my concern, because I believe within the next couple of years it will be more watered down because the knowledge is not being properly passed on.
How would you try and turn this around to keep the essence of street dance alive?
Firstly, we need to go to the OGs. Like, they're the ones that lived it. They were there from ground zero. You know, they're the ones that are going to filter down the information, like, because they lived it. They were there, you know. And from there, this is where I think that the next people down, or the next people who have come through and they're teaching, who have learned from those people, and they're able to pass that knowledge on. And then it's like a repeating process.
I guess back in the day, there wasn't so many people documenting stuff, so
that's right.
things just happen in the moment, and there's no real story behind how it started. It's just word of mouth, right?
Well, not everyone had like a camera, right? The old VHS camera on your shoulder. Now with the phones, everyone's filming. Like, so like.
I do strongly believe though that if anybody has any history or information, that they should share it.
Yeah.
And then it's up to the person who's watching to do their research.
Yes.
But I think just get the information out there, say whatever it is. Don't judge anybody for saying anything, but go do your homework, because it does get you thinking. Like, oh, what he said, is that true or not? But more to not to correct him, but more to find out for yourself, like what actually happened.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously there's conversations that happen at practice, you know, or just in chats and things, like where, you know, I feel like in the breaking community, you know, even if someone says something, like, and it may not be correct, you still can have that conversation just to educate.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. All right, that's cool. I'll remember that. So the next time I have that conversation, they, you know, they can go forward with it. So,
learn off each other.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Keep the rawness alive. Keep really the rawness alive. As an organizer, as a battler, as a DJ, as a graph writer, still be raw.
It's a community and it's a culture, and it's valuable in so many more ways than just movement.
Improvisación, por favor, métele con todo el amor. Italiano non lo sai, va bene, avanti in fondo, non convinto stai, si intende mo. Fumo scambio tutto, io non so spavata. Hai capito, vada me con l'occhio a drogata. Nada, vado, fanghi float. Questo flow è proprio golden flow, mo. Questa cama sta facendo fotografie. Meglio che me la fuga per vera polizia, mo. Venga nata, voto, ti sta accusando.